So now that I've actually had a decent look at this, I can't slide the engine out from under the car without my dollies. There's just no physical way of doing it because as soon as I lift up on the front of the car, obviously the legs of the engine crane are going to be in the way. I can't get it around from the side like I usually do because normally I have two cranes, but I've only got one, and the roof beams in this shed aren't really strong enough. That's just an emotional support strap. Don't worry about that one. So we're going to go back to plan A, which is lifting it out the top, which is probably what I should have done from the start because now I've completely screwed all my access under the car, but it is what it is. Normally dropping the subframe's easier, but normally I'm better set up for this. I said that I was never going to do this again. Here I am. So I'll split the transmission. Otherwise, it doesn't physically fit out the top. The engine just fits out the top. If you care about your paintwork, it doesn't fit at the top. If you don't care about your paintwork, it does. Biggest drama with pulling out the top is the long drive shaft on the passenger side is actually attached to the back of the engine. I'll see if I can get you down there to have a look. So I don't know what you can see up there, but that's the long drive shaft there, and it's got like a carrier bearing which is bolted to the back of the engine. So I need to undo that, get the engine out, and that is a bastard. And then there's also the bottom engine mount, which is that little guy there, which is just a dog bone thing. You either need to get that bolt out there, or there's a bolt on the other end, both of which suck. So those two, and then the bell housing bolts are all I need to do. So obviously, bell housing bolts, everyone knows what they are. Theoretically, it shouldn't be too difficult. I'll get some stuff out of the way and get into it. Not looking forward to it, but I've got to split the transmission to get it on the engine stand anyway, so let's go. Right, now that I've got a renewed burst of energy, so that is a 4mm hex as I suspected, just like everything else in this engine, they're already loose. So this is what I mean when, this is a very difficult cover to get off. Like normally it's got 5 4mm hex in it, and you can't get this in there. There's not enough room. You can just get a small Allen key in here, but then you really can't get your hand in with enough force to be able to get more than about a quarter of a turn out of it. It's extremely, extremely annoying. So that one's out. That one's out. All right. Give me some carnage in here or not? Oh. Ooh. Where's your problem? So, there is in the service book, the timing belt was replaced at, I think, about 70-something thousand, 80,000, and I haven't seen anywhere where it's been replaced since. So this timing belt could possibly have had 200,000 kilometers on it. All right. So in terms of priorities, this is probably 102, 103 on the list. I've got way more important things to be doing. However, the internet will lynch me if I don't at least lift this head see what's going on underneath here. I am also kind of curious to know if this head or block is salvageable, or if this thing is just a boat anchor at this point. So, hopefully my E-Torx fits down here. These are actually they're an E-Torx. You can't see down there; it's too dark. I've had one of these heads off before, so I'm guessing I've got a tool for it somewhere that fits. So, pull the coil pack, just cut what's left of the timing belt, lift this head, see what is going on. All right, so of course it wasn't as easy as I initially said. Had to drop the intake off. It's got all that recirculation gear on it for the oil, so it's just dangling there. It's also pretty nasty inside. Cut the timing belt, had to drop the tensioner off. All the head bolts are out. I left the coil pack in. I just unplugged it. Removed all the water pump gear from the back. It's time to have a second attempt at lifting this head and see what's behind door number one. Am I rich or not? Oh. Yeah, it's nasty. Well, I mean, it's not quite as boring as a thimble full of canary spoof. But it's, and that's not great. Bring you in for a closer look. So this is what happens when your timing belt breaks on an interference engine. So that's the head off a valve. That's another head off a valve. That's another head off a valve. That's, well, that's a valve seat, and goes right through the piston, which means that there's shit basically all through this engine, which this engine wasn't overly healthy anyway. There's quite a carbon ring here. You can actually see like a little bit of it's broken off there. So she's been running quite rich for quite a while. Head gasket seems all right. I can't see any breaks in it, so that was a good thing. I mean, the oil that did come out of it seemed all right. That piston being up means that we can't really tell how bad the situation is at the bottom. I can't. Seems to be all right, actually. I can't see any carnage aside from the stuff at the top, so we might have a good block. We obviously will need a piston. This head down here is probably going to be a different story. I don't think it's going to be much good for anything at all. Yeah, wow. That's dead. Totally dead. There's valve seats and chunks missing out of it, and I mean, if you were super duper keen, you could probably fix that, but I am not that keen. So, garbage. Oh, welcome back into the shed. Thanks for stopping by to give me a hand today. And I've just got my engine crank, which makes a loud noise. So, that's that. So, what we've done here is this. You're well aware of this. Let me put you in widescreen here. There we go. That's where we got to. We finished stripping the engine. I've got to try and find somewhere to put that filthy ass gearbox because I don't want that in my shed. I got shiny bits over there. Just ignore them. I was actually going to wheel this thing outside and give it a pressure wash, but honestly, it's not so bad in there, and it's a race car, not a show car, so it's going to look like this in 2 laps anyway. So that's fine. I've stripped the aircon lines out of there. The only other thing I need to do is I need to fix up that steering down there and pull that piece out. Ready to accept the new one. Now, I think I have actually decided I'm going to leave this how it is, put the new engine in, wire it in with the stock ECU and everything, get it running, and then I will do all the braking stuff. I might actually even run it with the factory brakes in just to, I don't know, get the motivation going there. because when I do the engine ECU, obviously it's going to take out the ABS because it all runs on the CAN system. So I've got to get rid of the ABS and the booster and everything, and I'll go with a proper race setup. But that's not for now. I'm trying not to overcomplicate this because if you've seen my video on Project Creep, things fall off the rails if you get too far ahead of yourself. So ignoring the mess, we're going to get a start on this one here. I think I'm going to attack this one a bit of a different way, just because there's parts on this car that I actually care about. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll crack the hub nuts first, because obviously it's got the Project Mu brakes in there, and I haven't actually rebuilt those calipers. They've only just been painted, so I think I'm going to rebuild those calipers, and and I've got the good rotors in there, and obviously the coilovers and that. So I think I'm going to crack that, and I'll pull the hubs off and all that gear and get all that good stuff out of here, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll undo everything from the top. The exhaust is already mostly undone. Undo the steering, sit the engine down on the ground. I've remembered to bring a dolly home this time, and then I'm going to try and winch the car from the carport up here, lift the front of it up, and then just wheel the dolly out. Will it work? Probably not, but here we go. All right, so as you can tell, it's a different day. Filming the intro yesterday really took it out of me, so I didn't get anything done. So you guys have seen this before. I'm going to put you on a tripod here, put you on a time lapse. I'm going to get this on that over there. Whatever, you know what we're doing. Let's go. All right, if you were looking for a cinematic masterpiece, sorry, but anyway, as you can see by that 1 hour time lapse, we got everything done on the top here, so we're making pretty good time. I just thought for that guy that's watching along at home, I'd mention this because it's quite interesting. This battery tray here is actually quite thick, quite heavy, and I've always been inclined to remove it as a stud and a bolt here, and then 2 bolts in the back here. But underneath, you'll notice it's actually structural. So that's the gearbox mount, which is held on by these 2 little tabs here, and then 2 bolts underneath. That's all that holds the gearbox in. So bracing from here to here obviously makes a massive difference. And in case you haven't realized, I've actually gone up to 60 FPS. Woo! Look how smooth I am. I was trying to use the DJI Mimo app, and with Samsung, it just doesn't work. So a lot of flickering, a lot of jumpy images. So I've just gone back to the native camera app. We're getting a lot better here, but anyway, I've got a ton of work to do. I've got to do the underneath bits and the inside bits, which, as you know already, are my least favorite. And as you can tell, my synthetic grass work mat is damp, so lots of fun for me. Let's keep going. All right. So time lapse didn't record, but you get the point. Hubs, drive shafts are out. I'm going to drop that strut down there. I'll undo those brakes and take them in, put them somewhere safe. Those lines are obviously had anyway. They can dangle there all they want. Thinking about this, the engine's not really going to want to sit on the dolly with the subframe attached, and the only thing that I really need to detach from the subframe to get the engine separated is that lower engine mount, and obviously the rear supports for the exhaust. So if that rear exhaust bracket will come undone, I can get the 2 bolts out of that, pop it out of the way, undo that lower engine mount. I might take the subframe, drop it down, and then I've got the other ones still laying over there, so I might clean them up and degrease them, or at least one anyway, slide it under the other car. Then I'll drop the engine down onto the dolly, because it might balance there easier. That's the way I'm thinking, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I think I've gone over this about how I was going to gurney all this, but I'm too lazy for that. I'm going to go back to thinking. You go back to watching me procrastinate.